Good evening, everyone. My name is Nancy Valvin-Norman. I'm co-director here at Atlantic Center for the Arts. We get half of the dynamic duo tonight. Jim Frost couldn't be here, but I want to tell you this has been a great 3 weeks. I want to thank you so much to our master artists for being here. I want to thank you, all the associates, for being here, for taking a risk, for taking a chance, for taking 3 weeks out of your life. We're looking forward to hear about your experience in the future, your collaboration with each other as sometimes the years go on. That's one of the most exciting outcomes of a residency, is not necessarily what happens during the 3 weeks that you're here, but what happens a year down the road or 2 years down the road. So we look forward to you keeping in touch with us. To all of our members and trustees, I want to thank you so much for your support. As I'm sure you'll hear tonight, this is a life-changing experience for the artists who are here, and we couldn't do it without your financial and moral support of our organization. It's very important to us, and we are all just so grateful. Just a quick announcement. Next Friday, we have something very exciting happening within our city, so if you're local, I hope you come. As part of the City of New Smyrna Beach's 125th anniversary celebration, a sculpture of our founder, Doris Leeper, will be dedicated in front of City Hall, New Smyrna Beach. It is the first public sculpture of hers that will be here in the city. As many of you know, she came here in 1958 and had a profound impact on our community, not just through the arts, through the founding of Atlantic Center for the Arts, but also through her involvement with Canaveral National Seashore and the Doris Leeper Spruce Creek Preserve. New Smyrna Beach would not be what it is today without Doris Leeper. And we're so glad that this year, our 35th anniversary year, she is really receiving the recognition that she deserves. In September, we'll be having another exhibition up called Doris Leeper, Visionary and Environmentalist. And I invite you back at that time to see some of her papers, her iconic cowboy hat that she always wore. And for those of you who come through the gallery, I know that's going to be just a very illuminating exhibit as to really what the impact that one person can have with a vision. And it's all part of what tonight is all about. So again, thank you so much for being here. Thank you to our artists, and we're looking forward to a great evening tonight. Thank you.
Hello, I'm so glad that you could come out and join us tonight and take a look at some of what we do and some of the things that we've done here. My name is Jimmy Bunch. I'm one of the composition fellows. And what I'm going to share with you today is a piece of music. It's an electronic score that I wrote for a very good friend of mine, Nick Duran, who's a choreographer. And we did it a few times, once at the University of Illinois at a TED conference, some fun things. I have to warn you, it gets a little loud, so enjoy. It's called In the Offing.
Okay, I'm Gregory. It's hard to follow something as haunting and solemn as that, and certainly I will not be able to make any of my witty comments that I originally planned. They would be so far out of thing. I have, of course, reinforced all your worst opinions of poets by arriving late, and I do apologize for that. I'm Gregory, by the way. I want to thank everyone here, pretty much on behalf of all of us, I think, for creating and sustaining this extraordinary environment and for inviting us to dawdle here and do our best to grow as artists, even if that growth involves something to do with weight and Chef Tom, which is a separate story, but should not go unmentioned. And if you want to know how exciting I think this place is for an artist, I've already told Nick that I plan to come back next year as an associate. So, 3 weeks, which is a wonderful space of time. It's enough time for us to get to know each other a bit, to learn from each other, to dig into our own art with serious fellow artists nearby to offer their insights and encouragement and enthusiasms. It's also not quite enough time to fashion a wooden spear, and so I think it's a good balance between the social impulses which artists feel and the antisocial impulses which occasionally take us over. I'm a solitary creature, and many of us are, and please don't for a minute think that because I make smart aleck remarks that I actually have social skills or anything. I don't. People know that. I'm solitary, and I think many of us are, but this chance to be in a vital community of fellow artists, it's totally invaluable. And to have shared this space with Joanne and Paul, it isn't just an honor, it's really been a joy for me. And my associates, each one of them is a genius at a different stage of his or her game. And it's been deep fun to be here and to work with them. And I want to thank everybody here. And also to introduce, it's not quite the right word at this point, but to summon the rest of the energy of what we're going to present for you about what we did here. Thanks.
I'm Elizabeth Kerlikowske. I came from Michigan with a bunch of poems, and I wrote a bunch more poems, and now I have a book that is called The Bud Poems, and Bud is my father. No matter how much you wish they are blue herons, turkey buzzards circle over the wind shear damage. That big one looks you right in the eye. From the gyre of wings, he begins his controlled fall, so cursive from far away, but raw close up. His feathers burn off. His body changes shape every few feet, younger and smaller and less mature. A fledgling, then a nestling, caught in brown blankets in your hand where he has come to be born. This is called bud sitting. Lungs, little moths of wanting one more smoke, thin as a zipper that's learned to stand up. The cane is new and studies that old man who was my dashing father, who stepped right from the Rat Pack into our 4th of July, pockets swinging with juicy fruit and firecrackers, told ghost stories in October and reappeared with too much Christmas. Who knows what he thinks, staring at the pond, picking thread from the wale of his trousers. The pillow flattens his hair with oily rain, all moving in one direction like hay down in a storm. Last hula. The butterflies of his hands have led him to the deer blind, vacant since last year, dusk. If he shades his eyes from full moonlight, he can just make out the window. Some Christmas lights need new bulbs and restringing. He touches the red one. His lips still taste like fender. The arms of his low tide flow over the doorway and come back thrilled with silvery webs like wings. Milkweed pods blown open in his hair. He is anchored and floating away, painting the blind with starlight applied smoothly as an orchestra. The blind floats on swells just the right temperature. Sun-dabbling hands correct its route. The deer watch on shore, safe now. He conducts in the darkness. He touches his hair. He touches his mouth. He holds his own hand as if he has just met himself. Gruff. I dug the moat with my toy shovel. It took decades. No one ever crossed it, but your long bones collapsed into a sort of bridge, and what was left rolled across to my island. I made you a bed of photographs and let you die there. It was comfortable for both of us. Thank you.
Hi. I'm Quinn Collins. I'm a composer. I'm an associate artist here. And I'm going to share something with you that I've been working on here, which is a part of what's going to be a longer piece, which is called Summer Music. So in your program, it says I live in New Jersey, but in reality, this summer I'm a hobo. And so I'll be traveling and staying in a bunch of different places. And so I thought that perhaps I would write something, a part of this piece in all the different places that I'm traveling. So this is the ACA installation, and it's called Clap Gently. And what you're gonna hear is a computer simulation of what I'm working on, because it's for 14 players that I don't have here. And because what you're hearing now is just finished today, and they wouldn't have had time to learn it anyway, so thanks.
wish I'd gone after Quinn so I can imagine those claps were for me. I'm Katie Riegel, though I publish under Katherine Riegel, because when I was young, I thought you had to use your full name when you published. The first poem I'm going to read, I wrote from a word list, which is an assignment I like to give myself, where I challenge a group of my friends to come up with 10 words, and then I try to use as many of those words as I can in a poem. And I dedicate this to two of my favorite people here, the interns, Leah and Greg. The hopeful future. No more bad news, sad stories. If I thought it would help, I would cut off pieces of my body to spread around the world. I would Dionysian myself. I would be any Greek myth, be turned to a tree. Experience is stunted by deluge as surely as any overwatered plant. Perhaps the solution is to go rootless, Spanish moss riding the air like jellyfish. I don't want to parse my life for joy, to mull over the question, knife or brick. No, I command you, slather everything with light. Invent another sense. Recode the universe for a kiss. Both of these are brand new, by the way, which makes me a little nervous to read. But I did write them here with gratitude to the ACA and my fellow poets. This one started as it was going to be a word list poem, but I got fixated on the word that Leah gave me, the cardinal, and that's the only word that ended up in the poem. It has an epigraph from D.H. Lawrence, which I may have used so that you would have that wonderful poem in your head, and I would get some glory from that. It's his poem Snake, which you should read if you've never read it. And I have something to expiate, a pettiness. The cardinal. The young cardinal got inside through the sliding glass door. I had left it open for the dogs to go in and out while I cleaned the kitchen. So many steps to save him. Close my office door where he fluttered against the windows, call the dogs to the bedroom and lock them in, open another door to the outside, find a towel to enfold him. Late afternoon, the window exhausting. Don't worry, little one. My fear that he would hurt himself. My fear that my hands would hurt him. Oh, so tired to let me hold him. He was so light, red and gray and light as meringue. At the smell of outside air, he pulled his wings free of my hands. I held on long enough to get to the open door. When he flew, I thought for a moment I might forgive myself for everything. Thank you.
I just want to thank everybody for all the support that I've gotten here, and food. Thanks, Chef Tom. So I was prescribed to write a narrative poem by Gregory. So this is kind of what came of that. And it has no title. Yesterday, I swallowed an entire wheel of cheese, Wisconsin. The day before, I drew a map in the shape of Kansas. Otherwise, the snow continued to fall, the blankets of white a reflection of my husked thigh, pages of a history book without pictures. I was at my wit's end. No, I mean, you and I left a bar called Wit's End, just the two of us in my station wagon. We carried the emptiness of the world in that car. The windows made panoramas, framed an image of one drunk trudging through snow. We picked him up to make sense of all that breathing room. He was from Texas. I can't remember if he was wearing shoes, sandals, or if his feet had frozen off. We worked our way into the snow, headlights slicing through the storm, birds fly in V's so that only one faces the headwinds. We rolled down the windows to clear out the sounds of bad news. There are heavy hearts in Baghdad, Haiti, San Juan, in a women's bathroom stall in an Upper East Side bar. 2 deer ran in front of our car before it came to a halt due to engine failure. They feared us only because they knew we had enough space for them in the trunk. 1 more deer and I would have been blamed for being too symbolic. The Texan wrote 1 deer too soon in the fog on the back passenger window that only opens halfway, making climbing out of the vehicle sinking more difficult. He was living about 2 blocks away from where we picked him up. The car tires scratched the gravel driveway. We talked about different forms of cured meat. The Texan said my hair was the color of cow's hide in the dark. You put your hand on my leg, said you thought you saw a fly. I said flies are more aggressive when they learn how to speak another language. The Texan got out of the car, gave us a small wave that could have been a twitch. We left the door open, the back end that leads to the part of the trunk you call the way back. All the air left the car, and you left me, windows gaping open, seat belt across my lungs. And I'll read one more short one that's very different, also untitled. I don't know why I'm writing winter poems here. It's to cool us down. All right. He gently laid his head onto my ribs, pressed his ear to my collapsing ventricle like an ice fisher to ice. Hundreds of frozen eyes peering through tundra. The fog turns to me. It was there I lost a single white strand of hair. It's time to put him to rest, whether winter, whether fall. A breath slipped between my sweater buttons. He played the cartographer, traced my muscles like maps. I am dizzy. At some point, he reached his threshold, tried to figure out where all his belongings would go, how to redivide his life into squares. To the red-breasted sapsucker, how do you sleep at night? Warm milk before bed. My fingers were once familiar with his follicles. Still, I can read his nodes, meet my mouth at midnight, take me to Los Angeles, feel my feathers, play with my dawn, my setting sun, just another normal day turned dark. My coordinates are basement wall and parachute, broken rims of glasses, those that we wear to cover our eyes, those that we sink our lips into. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Patricia Alessandrini, and I'm going to be showing a work that was actually performed while I was here, but not here. It was performed in Chicago. And this work is, of course, since it was premiered while I was here, it's been very much on my mind during this time. Also, it's emblematic of a process that I've been having a lot of conversations with the other associates about, which is taking an existing work and taking something from that. So in this case, this is a piece which is an homage à Berio, Luciano Berio, who's an Italian composer who just died in 2003. And what I did was I took one very, very small element of one of his pieces, and actually a piece of his which is based on folk songs. So it's also something that's based on something that's already based on something else. So I'm just going to play two very short excerpts with video.
last time I saw him. Keep the house quiet, my mother told my brother and me. Your father needs rest. I don't know how much longer it was. I ascended the stairs. Their bedroom was on the right. Mine was down on the left. I can't remember what I said, how loud I was, but suddenly he was there in the doorway, yelling at me, his face red, his skin yellow. He looked weak, but enraged. I stood there frozen, not knowing what to say. There was a moment of quiet. I saw a hint of concern on his face, the kind a parent has after admonishing a child, knowing he's gone too far. Then he turned and was gone. What I want to say to you for my father. The noises I made that had you appear angry in the doorway to my room, they were those of a boy knowing his father was dying. It would mean the world to hear you say to me, I went too far. I have regret. I wish I crossed the threshold of your doorway and in my weakness took hold of you, my son. This next poem is written with great thanksgiving and deep gratitude to Greg War and much appreciation for my newfound tribe of poets. I've taken the word incantation and poem and put them together to form incantoem, New Smyrna Beach. I stand where sea meets shore, a shore where I played as a boy. I commend your poem to my memory, loss and more loss. That's what the sea teaches. Words roll over my mouth, descend into me, wave rolls over my feet. Loss and more loss, wave. A boy and a mother laugh as they play, catch me, run away, catch me, run away. The need to stay nimble, wave. My eyes close, my body sways, wave. The sand disappearing, gentle dance, wave. Holding my son after his birth, wave. Loss and more loss, wave. The beloved is being made anew. Thank you.
I'm Paul Dresher. I'm the composer, the master composer. Gregory sort of said all the eloquent things and the funny things. I don't really have a lot I have gained some weight as well. So I can confirm that what he said there was absolutely true. You've heard some of the associate composers already this evening. I think you'll see as the evening goes on that they are a very diverse group. Each one has their own distinct voice. And that was, in choosing this group, it was my intention to not have a uniform sort of stylistic approach or even background. And I think I chose very well, and I think it's been a great group of people. I've also really enjoyed getting to know Joanne and Gregory. And I helped Gregory dispose of a bottle of wine that he was worried he was going to have excess last night. And I've gotten my own work done. As people have heard me, people who've sat around the dining room table have heard me kind of sort of brood and complain about the difficulties of the project I've been working on. And this has been a wonderful environment. The oscillation between the private time that I've had each morning to go deeply for several hours into the project that I carry away with me, and then to work with these wonderful people all afternoon with either group meetings or individual lessons. It's been really gratifying to me. And then the meals where I get to meet the writers, the painters as well. So those of you here who have the means, this is an amazing program, an amazing facility, and I hope you will continue to support it with your presence and with the financial means, whatever you have. Thanks very much.
Hi, I'm Erik. I'm from Virginia. I'm a composer. In the last winter, I did something very stupid, and that was accept an artist in residence position in interior Alaska in the winter. So here, my goal was to sort of make a piece that is going to be donated to them. When I got here, I was stopped by Biddy Connor's Voice, who is also another associate artist, and we began the process of collaborating together on a piece. So I'm going to play a recorded sketch of 2 songs from a larger song cycle that is going to be donated to the park that sort of points to my time in Denali. The instrumentation for this set is voice, piano, viola, baritone, ukulele, glockenspiel, and field recordings. What's that? The organ. Oh, right, and an old Farfisa chord organ. And all of the material was written and played here.
Silent. I'm Sophie Klahr. I'll be reading 2 poems from a manuscript I'm working on called Meet Me Here at Dawn. Photographs I have taken while you slept. 1. From down the hall. In the door frame, light from the bread broom windows, nearly erasing the place where you lay like a man beaten, one arm reaching down as if your fingertips were skimming water. 2. The rotting porch like a tongue jutting from the mouth of that one hotel room outside San Antonio, coyotes talking yellow all night. 3. The foreground, my neck, shoulder, and collarbone. In the background, your body spread open, Eastern Standard Time slowly lifting, taking leave. It is the 9th month of our affair. What have we brought forth? Something hungry into the world. Room 205. This is the living room. This is the moon. This is us kissing. That's us in the mirror. That over there is New Jersey. These are the cherries you bought on 14th Street. This too is falling. This is you holding the pits in your palm. This is my spit. This is the wilderness. This is the hole in the story. This is a ship. This is a field. These are the flags in the wind on the pier. This is the pattern, the sun on our skin. To be distracted by having a body, this busy, the mind. This is us as material, by which I mean fabric, by which I mean substance, significant, how it feels to be written, unwritten, what it's like to be written around. This is us at the movies, us at the show, us in the film. This is the performance. These are our lines. This is exhaustion. This is the Hudson. This is so many rollerblades, so many tiny dogs. This is how many people there are in New York. This is your thumb at the ridge of my mouth. This is okay. This is enough. Thanks.
My name is Cassis, Birgit, Staudt, and I wanted to thank everybody for this amazing experience. It has been mind-blowing to be here, and thanks everybody who has blown my mind. I finished today a first draft of a string piece where I got into some territory that I haven't really done before, and as I didn't have the string players here, this is a song that kind of talks about the experience being here, and thanks Patricia, Burgess for playing the ocean. Forcing my head over water, vanish into wind-blown sea, tears in the ocean taste really salty. My thirst is almighty, counting clouds, counting clouds. Lines blur, heaven hangs wet, grace make me blue. I can't continue breathing rain, craving to float. Mountains of sky are my real coat, sinking inside endless fear. And disappear, still counting clouds, counting clouds, counting clouds, counting clouds.
everybody. I'm Caitlin Doyle, and I'll just start by thanking the Atlantic Center for this amazing opportunity. And the first poem I'm going to read is called Paris. And I wrote this thinking about how at one point in time you'd say the word Paris and people would actually think of the city, but now you say the word Paris and people think of Paris Hilton. So I was kind of thinking of how the connotation of that word has changed, and also about her in general. And as you listen, it's just interesting to keep in mind that her great-great-grandfather started out as a bellboy before they founded the Hilton hotels. And there's a quote that starts the poem. "I don't want to be known as the granddaughter of the Hiltons. I want to be known as Paris." Paris. Once you were a city. The young, hearing your name, conjured cafes, the Venus de Milo, love along the banks. Now Paris is your face. What happened so the Eiffel is your long-limbed height, the Seine your rivering hair? Where did the Louvre go, leaving you in its place? Not that you're not art, the angle of your head, your forward hips. You pose in the lobby of the Texas Hilton, hot pink miniskirt with luggage to match. We can hardly help ourselves, eye to belly button with your blank canvas midriff on the magazine shelf. But who pulled your skin so taut, who spread your easel legs in that stance no signature tells, unless you made your shape yourself. Unless your shape was always there, implied in curving staircases and long-stemmed champagne glasses, your father's fantasy, a bellboy dreaming his own hotel. If you saw him now, you wouldn't see him, any more than armless Venus, if she met her creator, could embrace him. The bellboy carries your bags for you, watching through the elevator door as you step from view. The next poem I'm going to read is called The Doll Museum, and I wrote this after visiting a museum that had different dolls on display from different periods in history, so stone dolls Egyptian kids played with, and I started thinking about how that compares to dolls contemporary kids play with and reflecting on my own experience. The Doll Museum. The stone dolls excavated from a tomb are eyeless, armless, heavy for a child to hold. Not like the dolls that lined the room my sister and I shared, their bodies light and bendable, their eyelids mobile, hair so real it tangled with our own at night. And while we were asleep, they came to life. We never pressed our cheeks to death like girls who played with stone dolls did. The doctor's knife could not have caught my sister more off guard or left me less alone. I had my dolls. Though soon they lay on tables in the yard with price tags. Even then they looked alive, survivors with no sickness to survive. The last poem I'll read is called Death of a Living Statue, and I wrote this after living for a while in a flat in London, and I look out my window and see a street performer. You've all probably seen a living statue, so somebody who's generally painted silver or one color, and they pose. They hold a single pose, and the whole trick is how they look like nothing could make them move. So this is about an experience I had with looking out and seeing a living statue. It's called Death of a Living Statue. He stood on a street corner near my flat most afternoons. Through the window, I could see him set out an empty cup, step onto a crate, and freeze in place. As passed by as a tree, he never faltered from neglect. Attention didn't touch him either. His body still, no matter how a kid might try to tease him into motion. He kept his pose until it seemed the pose was holding him. His palms extended, eyes cast to the sky, sublime or comic, feet opposing each other, a pantomime of all emotion, motion alive in motionlessness. Too much there, now not enough. He's dead. His absence like the ghost left by a hand on frosty glass. The morning paper said, young man hit by a cab. His picture stopped my coffee mug mid-air. Killed by a moving thing, he moves in death to offer final proof of what his art was always proving. That's it, thank you.
My name is Debra Wilk, and I'm going to read two poems. This first one is called Sunday. I wrote on Sunday because the first chill of winter came while I slept, and the front yard was filled with blackbirds. They were laughing, and I wrote that on a paper plate, along with red is sweet and yellow is salty. But blue, blue is this moment exactly. My head still on the pillow when the wind blew the curtains. I watched an eagle rise and glide slow motion against a sky gray with clouds. How the wide arc of wings reminded me of the broad grin of every man I've loved. Even the blackbirds went quiet. But the wind fell, the curtains closed, and I thought how the sky could have been Chicago, not Florida. The chill in my bones that moment. I wanted to write about trains, how I missed them with their rumble and sway and smelling of leather, and people. The cold of the window against my breath, so many faces, prairie and buildings, ghetto and factory and river and ship, and the wide grin of my favorite conductor, moving with determined grace up the aisle, the blue of his suit and hat, the music from his throat when he sang out my stop, Heg-a-wish. I had to find my journal and write that down. I had to write this poem. The second one is brand new, and I've never read it before, and it's called Sing to Me. Train, howling through this small town, how I love the urgency of your calling that links me to every place I've lived. There is hope in the train passing through one's empty space. There is a spiral, the owl rhyming from the yard, his wild as ever song. Owl, were you there, south side of Chicago? If you were silent. No rhyming heard with the train hauling ass, screaming metal, the tight curve towards Hammond, Indiana. Maybe you were there, but hidden under the hum of the Ford plant, or the Coke plant that stunk like death, coal dust clinging to sheer white curtains. The rumble of freight train racing rattled the pane of my bedroom window. I missed that anticipation, leaning train, jumping track. Owl, if you were there, did you eat the scared rabbit that ran from the prairie? Not the golden amber kind that waved a perfect song, but a prairie called neglect, milkweed blowing white threads of seed from funny green pods. We made into soup, playing with empty cans behind the rows of houses and the tracks, broke bottles against the gravel. Is it possible in your owl mind to discern human waste? Or is it all just one big chase? Just as wild industrial push, up and rolling in no time, that train that jumped track. Just another day belonging to that place. Take me somewhere else tonight, slow train in the dark, here in this sleepy town. No flashing lights, no gates, just empty street and a man with a flare jumps off, waits, then jumps back on. And the owl above my house, his haunting call, train whistle coming through, owl sing me a pair of wings, I'm on board. Take me back to Republic Steel, east side of Chicago. It is Sunday, my father whistles from the car and we hustle. We do not ask, we silently ride across the Calumet River, past the miles of rust-covered buildings longer than this town called Sanford, Florida. Is there a city owl amongst the steel and the machines? I can't imagine where they would nest, not a tree for miles. Giant magnets picking up scrap, ovens that never sleep, and what rises to the top of the mix is poured into iron-bellied pots. They wait on a flatbed train, 8 of them, chugging up a hill not far from where we are parked under the no trespassing sign. I'm the one sitting on the hood, each kettle of slag glowing, lava I imagine. I am really in Hawaii, waiting for the volcano to blow. Slow train at the top, the abrupt stop thunders. How does he know, my father, I will love this forever? A man slowly unhinges the lock that keeps the first pot from tipping. Back and forth it splashes liquid flame into the air, the most brilliant of reds, pouring a river of fire down my pretend volcano. Breathtaking, the smack of the heat, the sting increasing, almost unbearable, but that moment recedes, and I cannot wait for the next flame to begin.
My name's Ian Dicke, and I'm the final person to present tonight. I'm a composer here, and it's been wonderful 3 weeks. My first time to Florida, and I think I'll be coming back for sure. The piece I'm going to play is just a part of a larger piece, but it's called 808, and that is referring to a famous sort of piece of hardware that came out in the 1980s called the Roland TR-808, which was a drum machine. And this drum machine, when it came out, was the first affordable sort of hardware like that for musicians to use in mostly pop songs, but then later in hip hop. I can guarantee you've heard this machine before in something on the radio or elsewhere. So this, I was inspired by that idea of sort of a drum machine, this idea of programming something and letting it do its thing. So I wanted to do something like that, but it also involved some improvisation and interaction. So I am going to play the first part of this piece. All the sounds you will hear I'm going to be capturing live right now with all these fun things I found. Sorry, Chef Tom, I took this. I'll give it back.
Greenbaum, and I am working with the visual artists. I didn't prepare anything, so I'll just thank ACA for a wonderful 3 weeks. Also meeting Paul Dresher and Gregory has been lovely for me. I came here not really knowing what to expect. I chose a very homogeneous group. I didn't really know how it would work out, and I am thrilled that everyone did wonderful work, which you'll see in the studios right after this. And you'll see in the studios. But again, thank you for a wonderful 3 weeks. I did manage to do some of my own work, but more importantly, I think I enjoyed working with the other associates. Thank you. So I'm going to introduce each visual artist. Megan Calhoun, please come up. Martha Clippinger. Martha. Jennifer Cohn. Jason Dunda. Joe Ball, Rebecca Goldstein, Pierre Obando, and Eli Ping. Thank you.
you.